The rising sun bathed the Yarmouk plains in a golden glow, its light heralding a day that would forever alter the course of history. It was 636 CE, and the forces of the Byzantine Empire, guardians of the ancient Roman legacy, faced the surging power of the Islamic Caliphate. This was not just a battle of armies, it was a battle of empires, cultures, and faiths. The Byzantine Emperor Heraclius, a veteran of countless campaigns, had gathered a vast army to defend his empire's eastern territories. The soldiers under his command were a diverse mix: Roman regulars, Christian Arab allies, Armenian auxiliaries, and others. Despite their numbers, they were plagued by internal divisions and a lack of cohesion. On the other side stood the Muslim army, led by the legendary Khalid ibn al-Walid. Known as the Sword of Allah, Khalid was a tactician whose brilliance was matched only by his unyielding faith. His troops, though vastly outnumbered, were united by their mission to spread the message of Islam and defend their burgeoning state. As dawn broke, the Byzantine forces launched the first attack. Their heavily armored cavalry charged with thunderous force, aiming to crush the Muslim lines. But Khalid had anticipated their move. Using his deep understanding of the terrain, he orchestrated a strategic retreat, drawing the Byzantine cavalry into a carefully laid trap. Once the Byzantines were stretched thin, the Muslim forces counterattacked with devastating precision, surrounding their enemies and cutting them down. For 6 days, the battle ebbed and flowed like a relentless tide. The Byzantines relied on their numerical superiority and heavy armor, while the Muslims capitalized on their mobility, discipline, and intimate knowledge of the harsh desert environment. Each night, the battlefield echoed with the cries of the wounded and the prayers of the faithful. On the 5th day, a fierce sandstorm swept across the plains, obscuring the vision of the Byzantine troops. Khalid seized the opportunity, directing his cavalry in a surprise flank attack. The Byzantine lines crumbled under the assault, their morale shattered by the relentless onslaught. By the final day, the Byzantine army was in chaos. Soldiers deserted en masse, and those who remained were either captured or killed. From his vantage point, Emperor Heraclius watched the devastation unfold. Overcome with despair, he reportedly uttered the words, "Farewell, Syria. What a beautiful land we are losing to our enemies." The Battle of Yarmouk ended in a resounding victory for the Muslims. It marked the beginning of the end for Byzantine dominance in the Levant and the rise of Islamic influence in the region. Within years, the Islamic Caliphate would extend its reach across vast territories, shaping the cultural and religious fabric of the Middle East. The impact of Yarmouk reverberated through the centuries. It was not just a military triumph but a turning point in the histories of both the Islamic and Roman worlds, a moment where empires shifted and the course of human history was forever changed. The aftermath of the Battle of Yarmouk was as transformative as the battle itself. The victory granted the Islamic Caliphate control over Syria, a region that had been a vital part of the Byzantine Empire for centuries. Damascus, Jerusalem, and other key cities fell into Muslim hands, each surrender accompanied by promises of religious tolerance and protection for those who lived under Islamic rule. The Muslims' governance contrasted sharply with the Byzantine administration. Heavy taxes and sectarian divisions had long burdened the region under Roman rule. The Muslim leaders, by contrast, implemented a system of relative fairness and leniency, allowing Christians, Jews, and other communities to practice their faiths in exchange for a modest tax. This policy won the hearts of many locals, easing the transition of power and fostering a sense of coexistence. Khalid ibn al-Walid emerged as a hero whose name echoed across the Islamic world. Despite his pivotal role, Khalid remained humble, attributing the victory to divine will rather than his own strategic genius. His leadership solidified his place in history as one of the greatest military commanders of all time. However, his fame would later make him a target of political envy within the Caliphate. In a twist of fate, Khalid was relieved of his command by Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab, who feared that the people were placing too much faith in Khalid's leadership rather than in Allah. For the Byzantine Empire, Yarmouk was a catastrophic blow. Emperor Heraclius withdrew to Constantinople, disheartened and embittered by the loss of Syria. The empire shifted its focus to defending Anatolia and the Balkans, abandoning its eastern provinces to the advancing Muslims. Over the coming decades, Byzantine influence would dwindle further as the Caliphate's armies pushed into Egypt, North Africa, and Persia. The broader implications of the battle were profound. Yarmouk symbolized the decline of one great empire and the ascendancy of another. It marked the beginning of the Islamic Golden Age, during which knowledge, culture, and innovation flourished under the banner of Islam. The lands once governed by the Byzantines became hubs of trade, science, and art, leaving a legacy that would influence both the Islamic world and Europe. For the Roman world, Yarmouk was the harbinger of change. Though the Byzantine Empire would endure for centuries, it would never regain its former glory. The loss of Syria, coupled with the rise of Islamic power, shifted the balance of influence in the Mediterranean. Trade routes were altered, and cultural exchanges between the Islamic Caliphate and the Christian West became inevitable, though often strained. In the grand sweep of history, the Battle of Yarmouk was more than just a clash of armies. It was a meeting of ideologies, civilizations, and destinies. The courage and strategies of those who fought, the leadership of figures like Khalid ibn al-Walid, and the resilience of empires forever altered the trajectory of the world. Even today, the echoes of that decisive battle can be felt, reminding us of the enduring impact of a single moment in time. In the years following the Battle of Yarmouk, the Islamic Caliphate expanded its borders with unprecedented speed. Khalid ibn al-Walid's legacy endured, though his removal from military command left a void that others struggled to fill. Nonetheless, the resilience and unity of the Muslim armies carried the Caliphate to new heights. By 642 CE, Egypt fell to Muslim forces under the command of Amr ibn al-As, further dismantling the Byzantine Empire's influence in the region. For decades, the Byzantines attempted to regroup, but their efforts were met with limited success. Constantinople became the fortress of Christendom, a beacon of resistance against the expanding Islamic world. The Byzantines adapted, fortifying their defenses with the construction of new walls and the deployment of Greek fire, an incendiary weapon that became a critical tool in their survival. Yet, their empire remained on the defensive, fighting to retain the fragments of its former glory. Meanwhile, within the Islamic Caliphate, the seeds of transformation were sown. The victories on the battlefield brought not only territorial expansion but also the challenges of governing a vast, diverse population. Under the leadership of Caliphs Umar ibn al-Khattab and Uthman ibn Affan, the Caliphate transitioned from a coalition of tribes into an organized state. Administrative systems were established, and the Quran was compiled into a single codex, ensuring the preservation of Islam's sacred text for future generations. However, not all was peaceful within the Caliphate. The rapid expansion strained resources, and political tensions began to surface. The assassination of Caliph Uthman in 656 CE plunged the Islamic world into its first civil war, the Fitna. Competing visions of leadership and governance emerged, dividing the Muslim community. These divisions would later crystallize into the Sunni and Shia sects, shaping the course of Islamic history. On the Roman side, Emperor Heraclius passed away in 641 CE, his reign remembered as both triumphant and tragic. His successors struggled to manage the empire's diminished resources. Yet, in the face of adversity, the Byzantines preserved their culture, faith, and legacy. Constantinople stood as a resilient city-state, its strength rooted in its strategic location and formidable defenses. By the 8th century, the Islamic and Byzantine worlds entered a phase of coexistence punctuated by intermittent conflict. Trade flourished between the two powers, despite their differences. Knowledge flowed across borders, with Greek manuscripts translated into Arabic, preserving the wisdom of antiquity and laying the foundation for the Islamic Golden Age. In turn, the Islamic world's advances in science, medicine, and philosophy inspired European thinkers during the Renaissance centuries later. The final chapter of this saga unfolded in 1453, when the Ottoman Empire, heirs to the Islamic Caliphate, captured Constantinople. The fall of the Byzantine capital marked the definitive end of the Roman Empire, but it also symbolized the blending of cultures. The city, renamed Istanbul, became a bridge between East and West, its legacy a testament to the enduring impact of the Battle of Yarmouk centuries earlier. As the dust settled on history, the world that emerged bore the imprints of both Islamic and Roman civilizations. Their struggles and triumphs, conflicts and collaborations, had reshaped humanity's trajectory. The Battle of Yarmouk was not just a turning point in history, it was the beginning of a legacy that would echo across continents and centuries. And so, the story came full circle. From the sands of Yarmouk to the heart of Constantinople, the the destinies of two great civilizations intertwined, leaving an indelible mark on the pages of time.